Hello, I'm Devin, integrative health expert, Ayurvedic health advisor, and holistic coach. Welcome to InnerSpark Living from Your True Nature podcast. This is a resource for those ready to gently, naturally, and sustainably restore their energy, their clarity, their health, and their wholeness. Each episode offers grounded, practical guidance and soul deep insight drawn from nature's wisdom, integrative health, and the timeless principles of Ayurveda. Together, we explore real, sustainable self care, healing from the root and how to actually get there, and dissolving the inner barriers that keep you unwell, depleted, and stuck in survival mode. This is an invitation back home to yourself. And now for today's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode. I'm very happy to be here with you today. Today, I would like to offer you a sort of permission slip, if you will. You don't need it, but I know for where we're going today, this topic, many of us kind of feel like we do. So you don't really need a permission slip. And if it makes you feel better to have one, I'm giving you one, I'm handing you one. This is your permission slip, your invitation to breathe, to slow down, and to trust the timing of your body and of life itself when it comes to healing. We live in a world that glorifies speed, productivity. How much can we do? How fast can we do it? So we glorify like faster healing, faster success, faster everything. But nature, anything that is natural, that is sustainable, that is nourishing, doesn't move that way, doesn't work that way. And so neither does real lasting healing, just doesn't work that way. The acorn doesn't rush. The moon doesn't apologize for taking her time, for waning, for waxing, for going through those cycles. The field lies fallow because it's wise enough to rest between growing seasons. So, this episode is an invitation to remember that slow healing is deep healing, it is lasting healing. Healing has rhythms like the seasons, it spirals, it cycles, it's not linear, and it is not on a timeline. So that's where we're going today. Pour yourself a cup of tea, wrap up in something soft and cozy if you'd like, and let's explore what it means to heal in rhythm with nature. In order to do that, we first need to start with debunking a few countercultural truths. All right. So let's begin with some of those things that we've been so indoctrinated with that we might not even realize like we're carrying the beliefs because they've maybe just become as natural as breathing. We overlook them. So we got to get in there and weed them out. So one of those things that is getting to us is speed, right? So rushing. Speed is a stress response. It is not a virtue. It is a trauma pattern. Rushing through life is a trauma pattern, not a sign of strength. And the way we do one thing is the way we do most things, if not everything. So if there are places in your life where there is that energy of rushing, it's probably also showing up in other places. So if your thinking's really scattered, if you jump from an idea to an idea and don't finish a thought in your head, if you eat really quickly and chew really fast and move really quickly, yeah, rushing is not more efficient. It is doesn't make you better. It's usually running from fear of some kind and not toward anything in particular. So think about that for a moment. When we are rushing, we might think that we're going towards something. And if I do it quickly, I'm going to get there faster. But oftentimes we don't actually have an intention or a place we're trying to get to in mind, if we really dig in there, we're actually running from something, running from discomfort, running from fear, running from a belief. So just be mindful of that. Another truth: progress means capacity, not performance. Real healing shows up in how much safer your system feels, not in how much you can push through. So that kind of piggybacks off of that point we just talked about with rushing. Progress is not a sign of, valor and I didn't make enough progress, so I'm not doing it right and it doesn't look the way I think it should. No, the progress will come when it is time for it to come. And as it relates to healing, which is what we're talking about today, healing shows up in response to safety. When your system feels safe enough to do the deep healing. So you can kind of see that when you're trying to rush or when you're arbitrarily measuring progress by some ideal that you have or comparing yourself and your process to something outside of you, you can see how that's not going to really create a whole lot of a sense of safety in your system and will actually hinder your progress. So, just another thing to think about. Another truth: consistency beats intensity. Okay. And remember, we're here, we're talking about healing, talking about slowing it down, how true healing is slow, slow healing is deep healing, and how aligning with nature will get us there. And first, we're taking some time right now to address these countercultural truths. Okay, so we're laying a foundation. So consistency beats intensity. Tiny regular shifts do more than big bursts of change followed immediately by burnout or resentment or a sense of giving up or that um, you're not doing it right or a lot of instability because there was a lot of change very quickly. Okay, so those tiny daily shifts build more healing than that burst of effort followed by all the things I just named: the burnout, the resentment, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's another thing our culture really talks about and pushes is this kind of like very dramatic, go big, go home overhaul. And sometimes, sometimes that's not necessarily a negative thing. Sometimes that's what's needed. And it all depends on the person and their situation and their unique constitution and what they're dealing with. And oftentimes, what I'm offering right here is generally more true and sustainable than not. All right, we got two more little countercultural truths to build our foundation before we go further into our discussion today. Rest is input, not reward. Okay. So over this. I'm so over this, seeing this in my clients, seeing it still played out in the mainstream culture where rest is something that like has to be earned. It's something that is like an afterthought, something that goes on the back burner. Everyone is exhausted and is like, I don't know why. And it's like, well, there's no rest, no deep, meaningful rest. And we're going to talk about what that means and what that looks like here a little bit later into this conversation. So rest is not something to be earned. It's not something to put on the back burner. It is really the soil from which true healing grows. And lastly, kind of similar to the rushing theme that we started this little countercultural truth foundation building for our conversation today, is that your timeline for healing is local. Healing unfolds in your body's own time zone, okay? Not someone else's, and certainly not what you think that time zone should be. It just doesn't work that way. So let's unlearn the idea that fast equals good. And let's remember that depth takes its own time. For something to be sustainable and lasting and worthy, it unfolds naturally in its own time. So let's turn now to nature. We've set our truths in place. All right. Nature is our teacher. Think of the oak tree. This tiny little acorn grows into these massive, gorgeous trees. I love oak trees. We have so many here on our property, and they are just majestic. And it doesn't rush that process. It takes a very long time, its own time. Even me just saying that right now, a very long time for a human, right? These trees outlive us by a long time. So by human standards, it's quite a long time, but it's its own time. It's not arbitrary. It certainly doesn't care that I think it's a long time. It has its own process. The field that lies fallow, so the soil can then restore itself. We are very avid gardeners, and I feel like every year we kind of get a little um, bigger and more ambitious with our gardening. And we give the soil time to rest and restore itself. Can't demand constant output. It needs that time to regenerate. All the little microbes and the little buggy bugs and all the things are in there doing their work. And then the moon, waxing and waning, going through the phases without apology or urgency. So, slowness, not even slowness, just rhythm. Rhythm is wisdom. Pauses, stillness, these are really strategies and regenerative tactics. They are part of the natural cycle of all of life. It's how things work. So when I speak about seasonal healing, I don't just mean changing your diet or your sleep patterns. I mean really orienting your entire being and your entire way of living and thinking and viewing the world and viewing yourself to the cycles of life, expanding when it's time, resting when it's time, letting go when it's time. Healing is seasonal, it is cyclical, it is never linear. And when we align with that which is natural in its timing, we support our nervous system. And it doesn't matter what we are trying to heal, if it's, because first of all, everything is connected. So saying, compartmentalizing and like, oh, I'm healing my mind, my mental health. I'm working on emotional processing. I have a physical manifestation of a disease that I'm healing, whatever that is. It's all connected. It's all connected. And we need to support the nervous system. And we do that through aligning with a natural pace, a natural rhythm of life. And then healing on every level just happens. You don't have to think like, oh, is this the right thing to do for my gut health? Is this going to heal my hormones? Is this good for my mental health? It is all of it, because you are a holistic being. There's no separation. That physical manifestation of a disease is rooted in the mind. In Ayurveda, we really see the body as crystallized mind. There's many natural and traditional healing modalities that have a very similar, identical viewpoint. So this nervous system of ours needs that cue of safety for healing to take place. Your nervous system is the metronome of your healing. You know you're aligned to its pace when your breath feels reachable, when digestion is steady, when sleep is nice and inviting. So all of these little pieces of our daily needs are being met. when we're overriding ourselves and then wondering why we're not healing, we look like things in our lives things in our lives will look like us doing things like pushing through and then crashing, having good days followed by wipeouts, feeling really kind of emotionally fragile and brittle, having a body that feels really reactive, right? Like allergies showing up, skin things, all of these different cues that like, okay, this isn't working. I like to share with my clients the kind of like little 30%. Can you give me 30% less? Can you reduce your load of living by 30%? What could that look like? And I invite you right now to think about what would it look like if I were to reduce my output by like 30%? What are some things I can let go of? If I slowed down 30%, if I reduced my commitments, my responsibilities by 30%. And then if I was like 30% kinder to myself than I think that I need. I want to talk about rest and patience before we close up for today. So, rest, like I alluded to in the beginning of our discussion today, is so important. And there's different kinds of rest. And I want to touch on that briefly. Rest is a radical act. It is so radical. It disrupts the urgency economy that we've been indoctrinated into, one that thrives on your exhaustion and anxiety and complacency. Our culture profits from us being tired, anxious, and striving, and rest interrupts that. When you are well rested and still in your body and in your mind, you are empowered, clear, you're not compulsive, you're not reactive, you are really truly kind of just sovereign within your own being, self satisfied. Every time you choose rest, you also teach your system safety. So that nervous system gets to calm down. Deep healing gets to take place. You become more of who you are, more connected to source, more connected to your inner truth. Rest isn't just about sleep, it comes in many forms. So let's talk about four types of rest. Structured rest, so sleep, circadian rhythm, honoring a consistent sleep wake schedule, even on weekends. That kind of all over the place sleep is not doing you any good. Honor the same bedtimes and wake times. So structured rest. I've seen that alone, that change for people. My goodness gracious, heal so much. And then the beautiful thing with healing and having it just become more of a lifestyle than a thing you're trying to achieve is that you see yourself so clearly. When you start to stabilize in your body and in your mind and invite more sattva, we say, or peace, clarity into your mind and into your life, you see yourself in ways that you never could before and never would have been able to had you not disrupted the cycles that you were in. You start to be able to see the truth like, oh my goodness, I was living like that, or oh wow, I felt like that every day and I didn't realize it. Like when you're in a really loud party and then you step outside and you're like, oh goodness gracious, I didn't realize how loud it was in there until you step outside. Yeah. So until you step away from these ways that aren't serving you and make these little changes over time, you keep making just another little one. It really is mind blowing. The changes from the inside out that you experience as you just become more of who you are and see the truth of yourself and your life and the things within and around you. And it's very empowering. So back to the other types of rest. So we had structured rest, sensory rest. Be mindful of your senses. In Ayurveda, one of the causes of disease is misuse of the senses. That simple. So think about your five senses and letting them rest. Most of us these days, from the time we first wake up in the morning till we lay down and go to bed at night, have screens in front of our faces. We are assaulting our poor eyeballs, and then our mind has to digest all of that input. We are hearing noise and TVs and music and all these things. And so, sensory rest, put the screens away, allow more stillness, more quiet. If you can get into a place where you can just hear natural sounds like wind and trees or bugs or animals, even better. But just resting the senses, not actively using them all day long. Social rest, so setting boundaries, saying no without any guilt. I'm working with somebody right now who is really letting go of some people pleasing tendencies and feeling a big sense of pressure to make everyone happy, she says. First of all, that's not our job, and it's impossible anyway. So when we're doing that, we're taking a job on that isn't ours to take on, and it's an impossible job. So you can see how that's going to be a losing game. Just kind of seeing Sisyphus pushing that boulder up the hill. It's like you're never going to win that game. It's okay if people don't like you. It's okay if you ruffle some feathers, because honestly, it's not about you. You're not ruffling the feathers, and you're not doing anything to make somebody like or not like you. That's all resting within them and their own situation, their own psychology and physiology, and whatever stories and things that they're carrying with them. And lastly, seasonal rest. So living with those seasons, honoring the rhythms and the unique invitations of each season. And I have so much material and resources about rest and about seasonal living and seasonal self-care on my blog that I really encourage you to go check out. So doing less in winter, not pretending it's always summer and you need to be the same all the time. You're not a robot. Honoring the unique invitations. Rest is not laziness, it's a requirement. It is resistance, it is reclamation. And every time you choose rest, you teach your cells safety, you become more of who you are. The nervous system is happy, it slows down, healing takes place. And the beautiful thing about just coming into a more natural, holistic way of living is we can ditch, like I said earlier, that compartmentalization. Like, oh, but I'm trying to heal this thing. I don't know if what you're saying will work for me. It's like, well, healing is a system wide, holistic mind, body, emotion, energy, spirit situation. It has nothing to do with, oh, I need to address this one thing here. Well, that one thing there is like, you don't exist in isolation. You're not some independent creature who just like, you know, hatched from an egg, arrived from some other planet, like some self created cause of your own doing. You're not an independent creature. We all exist together, entangled, totally dependent and related. And so you're as your unique little individual being, you are simultaneously a little reflection of the macro and completely entangled and dependent on source, on the elements, on other people. And so your body, your whole system is the same way. Your mind is not some independent entity that just arose and became. Your body is not just this thing that's like, oh, I'm going to do this thing now. I'm going to start having symptoms. It's all connected. They're all connected. Healing needs to be a holistic, complete, gentle, safe, surrendered process that doesn't neglect the whole of you. And that's a beautiful segue into the last point I wanted to talk about, which was patience and how to cultivate some of that. Patience is often treated like a passive waiting game, but patience is an active practice. It is the practice of stewardship. Ultimately, it is holding space for the process, it's showing up for yourself, it's holding the soil long enough for the seeds to sprout, and not looking at the process like there's an end game, an end point, like, oh, I need to get these seeds to sprout. Once I do X, I'll know I'm healed. It's really coming into a lifestyle of wholeness, healing, wholeness. So it is healing is a return to wholeness, to the truth of who you are, your original nature. And it's a lifestyle. It's a lifelong journey and process. And patience is really acceptance and surrender to that. Let go of your timeline, let go of your ideals, let go of the way you think things should look or be, or should have been, or could have looked in the past, how they should or could look in the future. Just be with what is happening, who you are right here in this moment on every level. This beautiful, divine, holistic creature. And cultivate patience for the becoming and the unbecoming. And a few micro practices of patience to get you gently used to practicing more and more of it could be things like the 90-second wave. So, riding the wave. All right. I like to talk about this with clients. So, oftentimes when people are making changes in their life, it's uncomfortable, right? It's uncomfortable to walk away from things that we've known for a long time, even when they aren't serving us and are causing us dis-ease in the mind and the body. But they're familiar and they're comfortable. And then we get courageous enough to make a change. And those changes can be very uncomfortable because we're now without this thing, this thing that we were so attached to and turned to for a long time, we're choosing to walk away from. And we chose to go to that thing, whether it was snacking or drinking or whatever it is. We went to that thing to override a discomfort that we had. So it could have been an emotion, just something, a thought, a repetitive thought pattern. And so often we have disconnected from what that thing is, because it's like as soon as that little inkling, that little flicker pops up, it's like, oh, go get snack. Ooh, go open Facebook. And so then when we walk away from those things, well, guess what? Those feelings are still there. And so now they need some of our attention. And a lot of people can start to feel like they're going to get swept up and away by the emotion or by the feeling, or that they have to do something about it. A craving arises, an urge rises, and I have to do something about it. But honestly, you don't have to do anything about it. And it's going to rise and fall typically in about 90 seconds. So the 90-second wave, riding that 90-second wave. Ride it instead of reacting to all the whims of your senses, and you get stronger. You get to know yourself a lot more, and you get to the other side of it, so that that discomfort lessens and teaches you and shares with you what it's been trying to teach you and share with you for maybe decades, maybe your whole life. So rather than reacting to the whims of your senses and the urges and the cravings, or wanting to run from an emotion or a thought that comes up, ride that 90-second wave. You can take some deep breaths. You can, something I used to love to do and I share with clients is just kind of, if you're able, just like kind of like stop, drop, stop, drop, and roll. Get down on the floor I'm being totally serious. Lay down on the floor on your back and just kind of breathe and watch the sensation. If you're a very visual person inwardly, it can be fun. It can kind of just like, okay, what am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? And then it passes. That's it. Two other micro practices of patience could be those 1 degree shifts that I talked about. So don't overhaul your life overnight, adjust gently and consistently, allow small changes to compound over time, because that's where you're really going to ensure lasting root level change and healing from the inside out. So little shifts, and be grateful and celebrate all of them. And then ritualize slowness. So if you're somebody that is a rusher, and I'm thinking of a client right now, everything is fast for this person. Everything has a sense of urgency. Everything. It's kind of treated with equal urgency, and it's all pretty urgent and catastrophic. How many more times can I say urgent? Urgent. Okay. So ritualize slowness. Light a candle before writing that email. Take a deep breath before moving on to your next task. Sit with a cup of tea or a cup of water and just do that with presence. You don't need to also have your tea and have the TV on and be checking your emails at the same time. You just don't. Remember, we talked about that is a way of totally assaulting the senses, totally overexciting the nervous system, and numbing from yourself. So patience is strength. It is being strong enough to hold the process. So as we close, I invite you to ask yourself, where is urgency living in my body right now? Where am I not allowing my own pace and process to unfold? Do you notice it in your chest, your jaw, your shoulders? Get curious about that. And what would 10% slower feel like for just the next hour? Not a full stop. Yes, we all have things we need to do, responsibilities, but could it look like if you were like 10% slower just for the next hour, a gentle deceleration? It is really a shift in consciousness more than anything else. So can you promise that to yourself for the next hour? Taking on the mental posturing of 10% slower. Okay, friends. Let this truth sink in as we close today. I move at the speed of safety and my own seasons. And anchoring in maybe one keystone slow for yourself that can help you in the coming week. Maybe it's a bedtime or a warm lunch, stepping outside at dawn or dusk, maybe 5 breaths before you turn on your computer. Just slowing it down, slowing it down. And thank you so much for being here. May your healing be deep. May you become more of who you are, because that is what the world desperately needs. That's the world I want to live in. And may you always know that slow is wise. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for being here with me today. If you found today's episode supportive, I invite you to subscribe, leave a review, and mostly share it with somebody that you think might need it. To continue your journey, I have some resources for you to explore. Start with our free guide, The Forgotten Foundation of Natural Self-Care, 5 simple daily needs for true energy, health, and wholeness at theinnersparkmethod.com/self-care guide. And if you're feeling called to go even deeper, I invite you to explore private sessions with me or the Everyday Rhythms program, a step-by-step journey with private mentorship to rebuild your foundation for living well and healing from the inside out at theinnersparkmethod.com/everyday rhythms. Lastly, if you're looking to deepen with the seasons, I invite you to explore the seasonal spiral, a living sacred map to reconnect with yourself and heal through nature's 8 turning points. You can learn more at theinnersparkmethod.com/seasonal spiral. Until next time, may you trust your rhythms, tend to what truly matters, soften into what's natural, and stay close to yourself. Your inner spark is always guiding you home.